Tonight I want to talk to you guys about physician-assisted suicide. Terminal illness is defined by Wikipedia as a disease that cannot be cured or adequately treated, and that is reasonably expected to result in the death of the patient within a short period of time. So if you were terminally ill and suffering, would you want choices and the right to die with dignity? It has become more and more common for patients diagnosed with terminal illness to look for an alternative way to live their final days. Just this year, an artist held a party for her friends before ending her life in California in their new assisted death law. I have watched many people suffer and linger on after being diagnosed terminally and without legislation making physician-assisted suicide legal. Then those patients were forced to endure months of pain, not being able to care for themselves, and dying without dignity. I want to challenge you to think outside of your comfort zone and think about these three things. If God gave us the right to choose, why shouldn't we give others? Suffering can only be defined by the person that is experiencing it, and why not let the patient choose, since the consequences are theirs to have? First, if God gave us the right to choose, why shouldn't others? According to the publication Death with Dignity, as of today, 4 states have enacted a Death with Dignity Act: California, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. FM Cam posed this question in the Boston Review, published in 1997. Some have asked, how can we ever permit people to intentionally end human life, even their own, without disregard of human life? I would pose this question: how can we decide how much is enough for someone that is suffering? Now let's talk about suffering. Suffering can only be defined by the person that's experiencing it. Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines suffering as the state or experience of one that suffers. So that kind of leads us to say, I'm the one that's suffering, so you can't define it. If suffering is defined as one's experience of suffering, then shouldn't they have the responsibility of knowing when enough is enough? According to the American Cancer Society, about 552,200 Americans are expected to die from cancer this year. This averages out to more than 1,500 people each day. 1 of every 4 deaths in this country is from cancer, which is the second leading cause of death, exceeded only by heart disease. Lastly, why not let the patient choose? The consequences are theirs. Death, so a lot of people think about religious reasons why we shouldn't choose physician-assisted suicide. Death is one of the most important things that religion deals with. All faiths offer meaning and explanation for death and dying. All faiths try to find a place for death and dying within the human experience. According to the BBC article titled "Religion and Euthanasia," most religions disapprove of euthanasia, and some of them even forbid it, citing reasons like God is the giver of life, the giver and the taker of life. My last question is, if it is I that must account for the decision that I have made during my time on earth, then why can't it be I that make the decision when enough is enough? In conclusion, when we talk about terminal illness and the right to choose, we are not only talking about suicide, but a person's right to die with dignity. I know that the thought of suicide is biblically wrong to many, but imagine you're at the end of suffering with an end-stage liver disease, and you're in lots of pain. Would you want someone else making the decision that enough is enough?